What is the Muratorian Fragment for the Bible canon? Imagine trying to piece together a puzzle with some pieces missing. That's what early Christians faced when they tried to figure out which writings should be part of the Bible. The Muratorian Fragment is like a snapshot from that time. It is the earliest list of New Testament books that early Christian communities considered authoritative. This manuscript was written in Latin, probably in the 7th or 8th century, but it is a translation of an original Greek document from around AD 170 to 200. That means it was created near the end of the 2nd century, making it a very important piece of history. The fragment itself is about 85 lines long and lists most of the books that early churches accepted as scripture. Back then, there was no single, official New Testament collection. Different Christian groups recognized different writings, and some books were debated. The Muratorian Fragment shows how early Christians were trying to decide which writings were truly inspired by God and useful for teaching. It includes the 4 Gospels, although Matthew might be missing from a part of the list. It mentions the book of Acts, most of Paul's letters, and some other writings like Jude, 1st and 2nd John, and Revelation. Interestingly, it leaves out some books that later became part of the New Testament, like the letter of James and 2 Peter. It also talks about books that some considered forgeries, showing how early Christians carefully examined each writing. The fragment also mentions other writings like the Wisdom of Solomon and apocalyptic texts attributed to John and Peter. This shows that even in the 2nd century, there was ongoing discussion about which books belonged in the canon. By that time, a core group of New Testament books was already recognized, laying the groundwork for the more formal canon we have today. Understanding this helps us see how the early church worked to preserve authentic teachings of Jesus and the apostles. They looked at where the writings came from, whether they were connected to the apostles, and if they agreed with Christian doctrine. This process of choosing the right books was essential for maintaining the integrity of Scripture. It also helps us appreciate that the Bible we read today was carefully selected and preserved through centuries of faith and practice. Studying the Muratorian Fragment reminds us that the Bible is not just a collection of old writings. It is a carefully curated library of texts that the early church believed were inspired by God. This history shows us the importance of understanding the context and process behind the canon. It encourages us to trust the reliability of the Scriptures and see them as a faithful record of God's message through Jesus Christ. Knowing this background can deepen our appreciation for the Bible's authority and relevance in our lives today.